Okay, everybody, welcome tonight to our meeting. This is the February 20th, 2023 regular meeting of the Haywood County Board of Commissioners. And our first order of business will be our Pledge of Allegiance. And after that, let me see here. Josh Frazier will be here just in a minute to give her invocation. So if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. God in heaven, we thank you for another day to be able to be on this earth, to be able to serve the people that are all around us, our fellow man. We thank you for the camaraderie that we have in this county, in this area. We pray that you would help us in all that we do. Give us guidance and wisdom. We thank you for all your blessings. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Josh. Okay, our first order of business tonight will be a public hearing concerning the approval of the execution and delivery of the contract for the Detention Center Planning Expansion Project, the county's financing of the project, and the granting of a security interest therein. We have Davenport and Company. Tonight we have Carson Wiley, who is the public finance analyst for Davenport. So welcome, Carson. You can go ahead and give us a brief introduction on that.
Yes, sir.
And if you would, just speak into the mic. Yeah, there you go.
I'm Carson Wiley from Davenport and Company, financial advisor to the county. My colleague Mitch Bergoglio spoke on the February 6th meeting about this renovation and expansion to the existing county detention center financing. Davenport issued an RFP, request for proposals, to 50 national, regional, local lending institutions in order to receive interest rate proposals for the county's financing. As part of this process, we asked for 50 and 20-year amortization terms for the interest rates, as well as continue to look at a public sale option for this financing instead of going the bank lending route. Through this process, the county secured 5 responses to the RFP from 5 different banks: Capital One, JP Morgan, TD Bank, Truist, and Webster. 3 of these proposals were for 20-year financings, while only 2 were for 15. Sorry, all 5 were for 15, while only 3 were for 20-year. And we had asked in our RFP if the financing could be, the interest rates could be held firm through a potential closing in mid-April. Only one bank, Truist Bank, offered rates that were held firm through that mid-April closing. So through discussions with county staff, we decided that it'd be best to go with the Truist options, as it was held firm and not subject to interest rate movement. Moving on, through additional discussion with county staff, we decided that the 20-year option, so Truist offered 20 and 15-year options. The 20-year option was most favorable for the county, as it offered the lowest annual debt service payment. So we recommended the 20-year Truist 10-year par call option at that February 6th meeting. And just as a little bit of insight as to how the market has been moving recently, since we locked that rate, since we received the proposal in late January, the Treasury interest rates have moved approximately 40 basis points. So we've already eaten into the cushion that the direct bank loan route provided us. And with that, I will open it up for the public hearing.
Did you want to say anything, Brad? It's on.
What Mr. Wiley said was that since we opened bids at our 3.71% interest rate, the Federal Reserve has raised rates, and they've signaled that they would raise again before we close. So I think going with the truest 20-year looked like a really good idea a couple of weeks ago, and now it's even more favorable to the county. So I was glad that we got that rate locked in.
Very good. Okay, so if anyone would like to make, this is the public hearing for the financing of the jail. If anyone would like to make comments for that, and we will have a public comment session after this for a regular public comment session, which I do have 3 people signed up to speak for it. But would anyone like to address the board that has to do with the financing for the public, for the jail expansion? Yeah. So if anyone would like to, would anyone care to address the board for that? Okay. Okay, seeing no one, I'll close that public hearing. Is that, okay? Okay. Anything else? Does anybody have any? Okay. Sounds like you're right, Brian. That sounds like we're ahead of the game a little bit there. Okay, so moving on in our agenda, I'll move to the public comment session. And I do have 3 people signed up to speak. The first is Ron Benhart. Welcome, Ron. And just limit your comments to 3 minutes and speak into the mic if you can so we can hear you good. And Amy will let you know when your time's up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the last public comment session, we had quite a few speakers who dealt with COVID and the acceptance or rejection of a $75,000 plus grant for treating some of the COVID expenses. I felt compelled to share my opinions. As far as the grant, you gentlemen and lady did the best thing you could have done, was accept the money. It was taxpayer money, it was our money, and it sure as heck does a lot more for Haywood County than it did if we had refused it and it went to some other county or state. End of discussion on that item. The COVID vaccine, totally different story. Most people were free to choose whether they accepted or rejected the vaccine, except if you had a job in the healthcare industry or maybe some level of government and your employer required it. Before trying to influence others, as a lot of those people did, I suggest they take a look in the mirror and answer 4 questions. Number 1, do they smoke? If they do, it's time to quit, probably past time. Number 2, if they take any prescription medications, do they follow the directions exactly as the doctor prescribed them with dosage and time? Otherwise, you may be wasting your money if you don't. Are they overweight? Maybe it's time to go on a diet if you are. And are you fit? We must stay active and we must exercise. As we get older, our resistance to disease declines. No need to accelerate the process. If there was ever truer words spoken, it was not when somebody said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If anyone makes a decision to avoid a vaccine, they should consider the consequences. First off, may get lucky, may not get the particular malady. Secondly, they may get a light case, which means discomfort, maybe some family hardship, some unexpected costs, and possibly some lingering ailments that are side effects.
That's okay, keep on, that's okay. Go ahead and finish your comment.
That may continued medical treatment. Thirdly, they can get a severe case which results in death possibly, which will also result in extreme costs and significant family hardship for those affected. But wait, they say, I have insurance. It may be from an employer's policy. It may be from a private company, Medicaid or Medicare, or combinations thereof. But in today's political climate, which is extremely adversarial to say the least, and the massive debt that the government has run up and continues to run up, it would not be impossible to believe that hospitals and insurers could say, hey, you made a decision not to get some protection. Therefore, your coverage is limited or non-existent. Last week in the United States Senate, Rand Paul submitted a bill that says hospitals cannot discriminate against people who did not get the vaccine. Same bill was introduced in the House of Representatives by a Dan Bishop from North Carolina. Hopefully, they will extend that coverage to insurance companies too, because the last thing you need is to think you have insurance and then find out you have a massive bill and you're not covered. We all need to make a choice. We can bet on ourselves, which is like throwing the dice. What chance? What are the odds? Or you can listen to the experts. And the experts truly are experts. They may differ on some of the minor items in treatment, but if you got to bet on somebody, those are the ones you bet on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you coming out, Ron. And I can say Ron stays fit, for sure. I see him at physical therapy all the time. Okay, our next speaker will be Eric Overholt. Welcome, Eric.
Good evening. My name is Eric Overholtz. I live in the Sawnook community. And last spring, the Board of Commissioners had a special meeting to hear presentations from two different architectural firms on the plans for building a jail annex. As a retired lieutenant who worked in various types of jails for over 30 years, I took particular interest in this. And I have to say that I left the hearing greatly disappointed. I think that there was more questions than answers. And I was also frustrated with the lack of opportunity for public comment at that hearing. So tonight, as you're on the verge of greenlighting a $21 million project that a lot of taxpayers don't understand, I am going to speak out on this, and I'd like to offer a suggestion. I happen to be in complete agreement with Sheriff Wilkie right now on the issue. We definitely need the jail annex. I have visited the jail. What we have is too small for the county's needs, and current practices for dealing with inmate population and housing are not practical, nor are they financially sustainable. But before you approve any final blueprints, I ask that you consider looking into making the annex a direct supervision unit. Yes, what is direct supervision? Direct supervision jails are architecturally designed to allow operations to be handled by fewer officers, thus saving on associated manpower cost. In most traditional jails, an inmate unit will have a deputy in an isolated control room, another deputy working in the housing units, and yet another deputy on hand to handle the in-house transportation task. Inmates that go to the recreation yard, they go to religious services, to GED classes, to the infirmary for medical treatment, attorney visits, so on and so on. Direct supervision jails change this through smart architectural design. These areas where inmates were otherwise would be transported to are instead located immediately off of the day room, where they remain within sight and sound of the housing deputy. Furthermore, the need for a control room deputy is eliminated because the housing deputy's workstation is located directly in the housing unit day room. The lack of walls and plexiglass between the inmates in the day room and the deputy provides for better communication, less tension, because the housing deputy is in the unit constantly. His or her presence cuts down on illegal activity and cliques in the jail. In fact, statistics have shown a decrease in violence and disciplinary problems. You do have a secondary deputy there to assist with other tasks, but in no way is security ever compromised in these types of facilities. Again, overall fewer staff are needed, and it saves taxpayer money. In closing, we need this jail expansion in the interest of public safety. However, failure to look at all options for keeping costs down to reasonable levels is a disservice to taxpayers as well. I encourage you to at least explore the possibility of making this a direct supervision unit. The last facility that I ran during my career at the Broward County Sheriff's Office was a direct supervision facility. It held over 1,300 inmates, and it worked. I ask that you explore this option. This is important. It's too important of a thing to just ramrod this through. Let's get this right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person signed up to speak is Myrna Campbell. Welcome, Myrna.
Good evening. I'm here to thank you for voting to accept the grant money from the North Carolina Division of Public Health to increase equity and access to the COVID-19 vaccine for those who choose to be vaccinated. I applaud you for doing your own research and debating among yourselves to reach a decision that I believe is in the best interest of the county. Decisions about public health should not be guided by partisan politics, and it's reassuring to know that your decision was formed without any political bias. It was quite alarming for me and for the others who accompanied me to witness how hostile and combative many of the speakers were at the last meeting. Going forward, I'm calling on those who speak during the public comment sessions to practice the art of civil discourse. Name-calling and mean-spirited remarks serve no purpose other than to create a greater division within the community. Free speech and debate are the bedrock of democratic government, but speakers should show respect to the officials they are addressing, as well as those citizens they may disagree with. Finally, I want to commend the newspaper reporters who cover these proceedings. Sadly, attacking the media has become commonplace in the current political culture, but fact-checking and correcting misinformation is what responsible journalists do. Research demonstrates that strong journalism builds social cohesion, encourages political participation, and improves the efficiency and decision-making of local and state government. I welcome their presence at these meetings. Again, I thank you for accepting the grant funding. As Chairman Inslee stated following the vote, the funding will help reimburse the county for work already done, as well as fund continued efforts to combat COVID-19. Hopefully, one of the outcomes will be a significant increase in the number of Haywood County residents who have received their primary vaccination. I would say that we're still at risk with only 58% of our population vaccinated. Thank you.
Myrna. Okay, would anyone else care to address the board? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public comments session and we'll move to constituent concerns. I do have one, is there will be a public hearing on Monday, March 6th at 9:30 a.m. at the regular commissioners meeting regarding Southwest North Carolina Home Consortium's Home ARP allocation plan. This plan is for money that the consortium received as part of the American Rescue Plan. The allocation plan will define how the home ARP funds will be spent. A link to the plan will be included in the notice of public hearing, which will run in the Mountaineer on Wednesday, February 22nd, and will simultaneously be posted under latest news on the county website. So I want to put that out. So, Brandon, I'll start with you today. Do you have any constituent concerns that you want?
I have had some constituents that's reached out, but as usual, I got with Mr. Moorhead and we've addressed those. I guess the only other thing that I would like to bring up. I appreciate all the speakers that come tonight and shared your thoughts with us, but Mr. Overholtz did bring up a good point, and I'm sure that you reached out to the sheriff, or if not, let's get with the sheriff and be sure that we look at the direct supervision that he brought up. I think this entire board's in it to save all the money we can. So if there's something we can save there, let's look into that. Other than that, I think that's all I've got.
Jennifer, do you have anything, Tom?
No, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a comment about our EMS department. They invited a Western Regional meeting over. It's going on this week over at Lake Junaluska, and it's incident management training. And we have departments from several counties on this end of the state. And I know Travis has been instrumental in doing that. But we were privileged to get invited to that this morning. We sat into a couple of opening sessions, and you know, it's always good to have a little inside view of what some of our public servants do, and we certainly appreciate all our EMS folks, our volunteer firemen, first responders, our sheriff's deputies, and the job they do for public safety, and we really appreciate those. Some takeaways, I did take a couple of takeaways away, and the guy was talking about, he had a big presentation about leadership, and there were some things, the bullet points that I took away. And one of them was, what you permit, you promote as a leader. What you tolerate, you teach. What you accept in your presence is your standard. So as leaders, we need to take the high road and be good examples for folks to follow, and I appreciate that leadership presentation this morning. And one key to teamwork they pointed out was to have a good, effective team. You're brutally honest with each other, and you hold each other accountable. And so those are some things that are key to be leaders. And I certainly, I know I fall short a lot, but you know, there's always room for improvement. I certainly try to attain a high mark. So I think we all should do that. So thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Go ahead, Terry.
I'd have to agree with Brandon on the jail situation. I've had several people run into me in different places and talking about the price on the jail and stuff, and I agree we definitely have to have a jail. We've got to have a new jail. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. But my concern is, and a lot of people that seem to talk to me about it, see if we can find somewhere else, you know, to cut some few things back that's not near as important as the jail, to keep from having to have such a high price on the jail, and see if we can get by with some other avenue without having to borrow so much money, if at all possible. And if we can, there's a few things I think where we could, or Brian could maybe look into it and see if we could save some to keep from having to have such a tax increase. But like I say, we definitely have to have the jail, but I'd be interested in looking to see if there's some ways to save money and cut down on the price a little bit, where we could still have the jail and everything, but not have to have, you know, such a high price tag. And I've had lots and lots of people ask me about that, so that's a concern that if we could do that, that would help a whole lot. I believe that'd make a lot more people happy.
Okay. Brian, did you have any comments on that? Was it? Okay. I will, I did want to make a comment about the, our meetings are streamed live. I was talking to Joey Webb earlier this evening. People may not know, maybe they do know. I didn't know for sure. But there's a website, on the county website, you can watch the meetings live if you want to. And you can also watch our meetings on, there's a YouTube icon, I believe, on our website that you can click, and you can watch them live on YouTube TV. So we have a YouTube channel that we stream the services on. So if you wanted to, anytime you want to watch the meetings, or 9 o'clock or 5:30 meetings, you can watch them live on those two, on your computer if you'd like to. So, and as far as the jail expansion goes, we had, I think we researched that quite a bit. I know the sheriff he sent us a letter. He's happy with what, he seemed to be happy with what our intentions were for the jail. Greg Christopher worked on it, and then we have a new sheriff, and they both, even though they're from different backgrounds and even different parties, they both agree that we needed to, that the jail, that they thought that was a good design and for what we were doing. So, and I know we've looked at it a lot. We've been looking at it for 2 or 3 years to see what's best to do. And unfortunately, I thought when we got the state prison, I thought, well, we won't have to build onto the jail. We can just use part of the state prison. Well, that didn't work out because prisons are different than jails. And jails are different because people are there for shorter, times and everything. So the prison system is different than a jail, and I'm sure things in Florida and Alabama and New York are different than they are in North Carolina. So things that worked in other areas may not work here. Prisons are different than jails in North Carolina. I know that because we couldn't use the prison pods that were there, we couldn't use for our jail. So, me thinking, I thought, well, we can just roll that in. Well, we can't roll it in. So, and unfortunately, our existing jail is out of date with the technology and with the updates that the state has made us come under. The current jail, a lot of it is becoming obsolete, and we've got to update the technology. A lot of this expansion has to do with improving what we've already got there to make sure that we're in the state code in that avenue. Because we built that in 2004, in 2005 in that neighborhood, and since that time, as I said last time, we've had 30 to 40 detainees or misdemeanors that the state used to put in their state prisons that now we have to house, and that came out. That cut out probably 30% of our jail. And then when we lost the jail annex, it is unsafe and obsolete, so we've got to replace it, and that was 40 beds. So that's 70 beds, 70 to 80 beds that we've lost from the original. I believe it was 109 was what the original jail was built for. So that's why we're in the predicament we are today. The state's changed regulations as time goes on. Prisons are different than jails. Different jurisdictions are different, and that's why we hired somebody in North Carolina that is familiar with the North Carolina codes to make sure we get it right. Because if we don't get it right, the state will step in and make us fix it. We are a subdivision of the state, if you will, and we have to do to the regulations that the state requires. And that's why we hired the architect we did to do the work, and that's why we're doing the work the way we are right now. So, and we have been looking at cost saving measures, and we'll continue to look at those as time goes on, for sure. And then there's some things in construction we can look at, and I'm sure we'll be doing that. We've got a great crew. I know Tim Sisk, he's real familiar with construction, and I'm glad that we have that kind of experience on our staff to be able to help the commissioners in this construction project. Okay, so I'll move on to, unless anybody has another comment.
Yeah, I've got, if you don't mind.
Okay, okay.
Just mentioning that, Kevin, I appreciate you
Okay.
bringing that up, but I know that I've been asked many times about the pods, and I was under the understanding that, with current jail, we could just add pods on the way it was built. And it was at the time, I think, like you said, in 04, 05. But since that time, with the jail standards changing, we're unable to do that. So, Brian, I don't know if you want to briefly tell the folks listening, why we can't add those pods, if you don't mind. I hate to put you on the spot, but I guess I did.
That's all right. First, there's not just simply pods that you can buy that are prefabricated to attach. Then the site poses some challenges, and I think a drawing that's close to 20 years ago, they had some additional pods drawn, but those didn't take into account the right-of-way issues with the railroad that we're facing. A couple of other things, the jail standards have changed. We're now required to have rec yards and more natural light. So if there was something to be built onto the existing site, it would take over a window, and then that would cut down on the natural light. And then probably the biggest is the site itself. In the new design, from the current facility to the planned expansion, we're building a corridor, or the engineers have designed a corridor that's going to rise 4 feet. That helps on site prep. Instead of bringing lots of dirt and raising it to that level, the incline will actually be 4 feet to the new facility, but that saves construction costs considerably. And also, I think Chairman touched on lots of updated technology. The control room and those kinds of things will be redone in the design. It comes with a hefty price tag. $21.5 million is our estimates. That's what Mosley's saying. We won't know for a few more weeks what that number really is. It's kind of an uncertain time to be bidding a huge project like this, and we just hope the bids come in.
And Mosley, speaking of Mosley, they're a large company, and they have done these before, so we felt comfortable with their experience of hoping they'll save us all the money that they can as well.
They've done more jail expansions in North Carolina than anyone in the last few years. That was their expertise is unparalleled in that regard. The other thing that I really liked was that 3 steps along the way, they have a price estimator to come through and make sure we're tracking on budget. So the last one was done about 30 days ago, and it's $21.595 million. And so that's we're tracking on the number that we've targeted since this started. And like I said, we were probably March 9th, give or take, from opening bids. Hopefully those numbers are accurate, yeah.
And I guess looking back, you know, the folks that were involved when we built that jail originally done the right thing. You know, they built them to the standards at that time, and they built it to where we could add on. But unfortunately, you know, the rules change or the standards change. So even us today, we can build it today according to the standards that we have. But if we have to add to that 20 years down the road, may not be able to. But thank you for sharing that.
It's hard to look 15 years down the road and know what the jail standards are going to be. I mean, you can't
Change
fault
every year.
anyone for that.
Right.
The plan may have worked if everything had remained the same, but if everything had remained the same, we wouldn't be housing misdemeanants. We may not even need a jail. Nothing stays the same.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I was going to ask about. He's talking about the building. Now, we got any kind of idea of where this jail will last till it gets paid for, or anything like that? Is there any way to find out about that? Because, you know, if the other one, you know, is outdated before it's paid for, we're not going to run into that situation again, are we? I mean, I know there's no way of knowing, but
Maybe you can tell us.
The needs
I can tell
assessment.
us we didn't own that last one.
Yeah.
The needs assessment took into consideration our current population and our jail population, and projected it for and this 155 beds is supposed to meet our needs for the next 25 years. Now, I'm more skeptical that we'll actually get 25 years. I mean, the facility will last 25 years, but incarceration rates are up. Substance use, all kinds of things are putting demands on our jails. I can't wager that, Commissioner
Right.
Ramey.
But I just don't, because, you know, right now we're going to have 2 jail payments, and then if this one don't last, you know, we'd still have 2 jail payments again.
Well, you know, you're going to have, if you don't have a debt payment and operating, you're going to have shipping costs. It's almost a right pocket, left pocket situation. How do you want to pay for this? If I haven't looked to see, our current facility is going to be paid off pretty soon.
3
And that's
years.
one of the reasons that we're able to minimize the equivalent of 1.44 cents is old debts falling off at a pretty high rate. So we're in really strong financial shape, and previous boards, this board has structured debt to make sure it's affordable.
Is there any possibility of paying the other jail off? I mean, so we wouldn't have 2 payments?
We'd have to look at each financing has different terms, kind of like this one.
Right.
You can't really prepay it for 10 years. We could certainly look into it, but that interest rate may be that you don't want to pay that one off, and you would look at one of our other debts
Right.
at a higher interest rate.
Well, that's what I was getting at, if we could pay something off to keep from, you know, having that $660,000 or whatever the next one is.
Right. Certainly look into it.
That would be, I think a lot of citizens are interested in that because of the, having two payments.
Bill, did you want to make a comment by any chance? I didn't want to. Did you want to make a comment on? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight. Okay, so I'll move on to, is that good? I'll move on to administrative agency reports and presentations, and the first one is the North Carolina Office of State Budget Management Disaster Recovery Update on Tropical Storm Fred recovery efforts. And we have our OSBM Director and General Counsel Derwin Jones and OSBM Assistant Director Christian Moyle. And then is there, okay. Thought there was another one.
Hi, good evening. First off, our apologies. Derwin Jones, General Counsel and Director, is unable to make it tonight. He is in Raleigh yet, so apologies.
So who's here in his report?
So I'm Kristen Moyle, Assistant Director, OSBM Disaster Recovery. This is John Donachie. He is our Operations Manager.
Thank you, John.
You may have seen him around.
Oh, yeah.
Here and there. So it is my understanding that we are here tonight because there are some newer board members, and we are here to just give a brief update on our program. And please feel free as I go through slides if you need to ask a question on a specific one or however it's your meeting.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. We also have in-house our intake specialist, Dawson Spencer, sitting back over here. He sits across the hall. Very nice of you all to still consider us part of your home base here. Let's see. I think I'll just dive right into these slides. Thank you. That's okay. And I think you can see these in front of you. So what we have here is our budget for the OSBM Disaster Recovery Tropical Storm Fred. And we have our categories of home reconstruction, private roads and bridges, short-term housing, home repairs, landlord assistance. All of that totals $49 million. We have our different columns of what we've paid out to date, and we also have what's obligated to our clients. The fifth column over, you'll see our balance. And one of those might be a little striking, where we have a zero balance as of February 2nd, maybe even prior to that, for our private roads and bridges. So that's been 100% spent or allocated, or obligated, excuse me. Our total to date is 62% spent and obligated. As of February 2nd, we had 811 applications in-house. 688 of those applications were eligible for assistance. Our coverage is 11 counties. Just keep that in mind if you don't mind. The county breakdown on the number of applications that we've received is off to the right-hand side in that table. As you can see, Haywood County is at the top of our list for applications. 53% of all of our eligible projects have been completed, and we're very proud of that. One note to this table is that we have actually under county, we have added an additional line item that is called duplicate, because we had a lot of people applying for the same bridge or the same access to multiple homes. So we had to have that into a separate category. So this is up to date as of February 2nd, but it is a little bit out of date. I think this image gives a really great representation of our clients in Haywood County. You can see a lot of them, the ones that are colored in blue are bridges, and the ones that are colored in a red color are our home repairs or reconstructions. So it gives you a really great visual on our concentration areas of, you can see the impact of Tropical Storm Fred when it came through. So just to kind of recap, Haywood County has 72 applications for housing repair, 67 bridge and road applications. Of those, 139 are complete, and a total applications for Haywood County, 278. Wanted to definitely give you all our contact information. We are still accepting applications for all of our categories. It's a general application at tsfred.nc.gov. Anyone in the 11 counties that was affected by Tropical Storm Fred can still apply to our program. With that, I can leave it to you all with questions.
Anything questions?
I've got a few. Out of these applications, I know there may not be any money that's left over, but the folks that have like a second home or a rental home, will they be eligible at some point to get some funding or some help?
I think I need to defer that to our attorneys based on their eligibility. So yes, if everyone who applies is considered, it just depends on how they fit for eligibility-wise into our program.
Okay, and I guess you mentioned the private roads and bridges, and you spent 100% of those funds. Two questions there. Can you move funds around within that budget that you listed there? And then secondly, is there any, see, how can I word this? Is there anybody else left over, I guess, that could apply for help with a bridge or a road? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
I guess what I'm trying to say is all the money's gone, so is there anybody left over?
Right,
So.
right. I understand. So we do have a legislative request going in to be able to move funds around within the Fred umbrella. And obviously, we won't have that known to us for a couple months until they meet and go through and decide. We are keeping our fingers crossed because the need is there. Secondly, if we have an application in, we will still determine it eligible or not eligible for a road, culvert, or bridge based on the eligibility. So we're still accepting the applications for that category, and in hopes of when we do move our, or can move our money around, we'll be able to fund the remainder of all the applications. That's our hope.
And I guess the last question I have is there a time frame on completing all applications? I mean, y'all have done a great job, and I want to say thank you. You know, that's some of my family and friends and my community in that area that was affected, and y'all have done a super job. I mean, just went up to a piece of property my son bought last week and seen a new bridge that was put in that wasn't there the last time I was there. So y'all have done a wonderful job, and we appreciate it. But do you have a time frame on when all applications will be complete?
We don't have a cutoff time frame for applications to be submitted yet. We are getting a handful or two a week yet. So it's still going.
That's great, you know, and you mentioned, you thanked us for allowing you to use the office over here. You can stay there as long as you're helping our people.
Thank you, that's much appreciated.
That's right.
It's such a great central location for Haywood County. It's wonderful.
Well, thank y'all.
Yeah, thank you. You have anything to add, John?
I think just a couple of things very quickly. One of the things was that the 20 million you see there for roads and bridges, the original allocation was 15. We made a subsequent request for another 5, and we've actually spent all of the funds from both those allocations. Our intention is to request additional funding for those areas. We are aware of, and we have a backlog of applications from the 11 counties for additional bridge funding. So obviously we're very hopeful that A, we'll get the ability to wire money between accounts, and B, there may be some additional funding available for us to assist families who have been affected by the storm. I'd also like to add that the cooperation and the help we've had from Haywood County has been phenomenal. I'd like to thank Brian and for Chris, basically, for everything that's been done to assist us with this programme. This has been a very successful collaboration.
I would also like to echo Commissioner Rogers in thanking you for everything the state's done. I hear a common theme from our residents in the flood-affected areas, and they're very appreciative of FEMA, very appreciative, but, you know, they say that the state really came through big for us, and they got some help from FEMA. But, you know, I've said it before, we should be proud to be North Carolinians because of what your department's done. And I know our Speaker of the House came and the Governor came, and both of them said about the same thing. You know, the rainy day fund is there for events like this, and they had a strong rainy day fund to help our fellow North Carolina citizens, and y'all have really stepped up. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, just from the constituents that I have encountered, you know, they're so appreciative of the work that you folks have done, and we as a county really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
If someone was to make application for roads and bridges, if a bridge that has been impacted serves more than one household, is it ranked better, and does everyone that it's impacted have to apply?
No, just one applicant for that community.
Okay.
And then secondly, we don't have that type of a ranking system.
Okay.
We are working on our prioritization based on being, you know, lower on funding than we would really like to be. But, so I don't have a direct answer. Right now, it's no, it's not a ranking system.
And so only one of the property owners impacted by access would have to apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as long as they have a legal deeded right-of-way.
Hopefully, we will see that funding get
I know.
where you can move it around. Be
Yeah,
helpful.
same. Thank you.
I just want to thank y'all for what y'all are doing, and it's really helped a lot of people over there. I got a couple of questions. One is are there a lot of people still applying for the house and the remodeling the houses and the assistance and stuff? You got pretty many applications still coming in for those, the ones that do have money left?
Yes, we get a variety in every category of the applications, and I guess to break it down statistic-wise, I would say we probably get more of the bridges and roads applications per month than we do for housing repairs or reconstructions. But those are still coming in.
All right. And you're thinking maybe there's a possibility, if they don't use all out of one category, that they might possibly put it in road and bridges?
That's what we're hoping for the legislative request.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are y'all in charge of the flood buyout properties? No. Will we be doing any of that, do you think? Like we did before? In 2004, we had...
Unfortunately, the program did not give us a ability to do flood buyouts, and that's handled by the HMGP program. We may request ability to look at funding buyouts in non-HMGP counties, because obviously only 3 of them were HMGP counties, and that probably be part of our request. But we don't have that ability right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate all the work you have done. And I know Brandon and Tommy are, you know, they live in that community, and I think it's been great that the community can reach out to them because they know them, and they can, you know, kind of guide them where they need to go. So, but I'm glad y'all are here. You're out there. So if anybody calls me, I can just say, well, they're right there in the courthouse, right behind the historic courtroom. So, okay.
Yes.
Thank you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, our next update is the growing rural economies with access to technology. Great grant special supplementary round 2020 Haywood County broadband expansion. And we have Haywood County Broadband Committee Chairperson Deborah Porto. Is she here tonight, Dave? Dr. Porto? She's not. Oh, she's watching. Okay. Okay. Thanks for watching, Dr. Porto. And then Skyrunner President J.J. Boyd, Executive Director of the Southwest Commission, Russ Harris, and Community and Economic Development Director, David Francis. Hey, guys. Now, Russ is here, right? Okay, he's back there. Okay.
This is a good night. You hear what OSBM's done. They've been doing a wonderful job. And then this is something that we started working on back in 2018 when we got together and committed ourselves and our committee, the Broadband Committee, to do something. And in 2020, we filled out an application. Russ can talk about the help that he gave there. But Dr. Porto, and I'll thank the committee here later, but we started working on this before all the money was flowing around for broadband and some ARP monies around. This was a supplemental grant that came out each year from the North Carolina Office of Digital and Technology. So this, we applied in 2020. The grant was awarded in 21. And here tonight is to thank JJ for getting this completed, that we now have the capacity to hook up 304 residences that we did not have before this grant. And it's a testament to what partnerships are between the state, between Skyrunner, and between Haywood County and the commissioners. Because, when I've come and I've asked for funding, you all have been so willing and helpful to get this done for our citizens. And so this is, a evening to celebrate. We're going to have we'll do something here a little bit different after we get through the presentations. But for Russ and JJ, and I wish Dr. Porto could have been here this evening. But this has been, it's been a good thing. And JJ, thank you so much.
Good evening, commissioners. I see some new faces from the last time I was here, so it's nice to meet you guys. It's been a long journey for us at Skyrunner and the folks of Haywood County to get to this point. We've built a lot of infrastructure over the last 2 years or so since I stood before you before. But just kind of to update you guys, my name is JJ Boyd, like David said. I'm the president of Skyrunner Internet, and I'm here to provide an update for what we've done for the community in the progress of our fiber to the home build out. For those that don't know, I'll get to the slides in a moment, but this covers much of like Highway 209, Rush Fork Road, the Fines Creek community, and then down Lake Logan Road, and a large component of that, just to kind of update you guys on like the scope of what we're talking about here. And some of you guys may have seen some of that construction occurring over the last year or so. And so as you guys may recall, our goal was to provide high-speed internet access to about 304 addresses that were approved from this great grant supplementary round. And I'm happy to report that we're prepared and in a position to facilitate services to not only those 304, but several hundred more along the way that are not part of the direct grant. And so as we all know, COVID-19 pandemic has brought the issue of the digital divide to the forefront of our society. And as we, struggled through that era, it became quite clear that broadband can play a big role in keeping us connected through those types of crises. It can continue educating our children and providing us with work opportunities, and then bring new opportunities into the area. In particular, we're excited to be able to address the homework gap by providing a number of these homes access to meaningful broadband, regardless of their income stream or what zip code they may live in. So it's providing service to people, service that is as good or better than service that they're urban neighbors may have access to. For example, I live in Buncombe County, and this service is better than what I have access to there, so maybe I'll move out here pretty soon. But we're also committed to digital equity at Skyrunner. It's going to be a term that you'll probably hear more of in the coming years, but just making sure that not only is there a connection available for these homes, but what do we do with it now? What and how do we use it? How can we make the best use of this resource? And finally, I'd like to express our gratitude to the commissioners for approving this supplementary round and this partnership that allowed us to get to this point. So thank you all for your ongoing support, and there could be additional rounds of this type of funding in the future. And I just wanted to kind of step through a couple of slides, some of our progress and some photos from the field. This first slide here, it kind of mentions who we are. We were founded in 2004. We currently have right at 38 employees. We're based out of Asheville, but Haywood County is one of our primary operational areas. We provide internet service for over 2,000 homes or businesses within the Haywood County, greater Haywood County area. Let's see, my clicker's not clicking. There we go. Thanks to this partnership, it's been instrumental in bringing fiber broadband to these 304 addresses, and we are actively connecting them, and I'm happy to report that we have connected at this moment 105 of these locations. We're prepared and have infrastructure in place to handle all of those locations. It's just a matter of getting them onboarded onto the network and really hearing from them, and then going out and doing their activation, pulling the line from the poles to their house and burying it through their yard and getting that. But in our minds, this partnership is a great example of how a public-private partnership can be utilized for the betterment of community members. And this bottom photo on the right was actually the Highway Patrol stopped traffic for us so we could cross 40 when we pulled fiber across 40 there. So that's a quick little shot from that. And then this is kind of a rough map of those areas. These are the addresses that were part of the Great Grant on this supplemental round. We're 100% complete with that, what we call the north part, which is Fines Creek and 209, and we're 98% complete with trunk line on the south piece, which we consider to be Lake Logan Road and all the ancillaries down that way. We've been doing a lot of work up Little East Fork and over that direction, which was not part of the grant, but that's a very good example of people that need it the most, is that general area. So we're going to build that in the coming weeks. And so I don't know if this is useful or not, but what is fiber to the home? It's the most meaningful broadband solution we have access to as a society right now. It's basically taking little strands of glass and building it all the way to our homes so that we have the best broadband connectivity possible. That it's the state-of-the-art technology, that it increases value to the properties. It allows our children to have meaningful broadband access for education. And, let's not forget, it also can entertain us quite well as well. And these are a couple of shots from some of the infrastructure that's here in the county. That one in the bottom right-hand corner is one of our employees, Chris Lindley, splicing fiber down on Fines Creek. That cabinet's just down at the exit 15. And so this gentleman here, probably should have asked if he wanted us to use his picture, but
we got half of him anyway.
Well, we told him we were going to use it, so at some point, this is that point. He was the first person that we signed up down off 209, off of this network,
Looks
And,
like he's ready too. He's ready to
happy.
stream.
Yeah, so
He's all smiles, ain't he?
yeah, he's ready to go. That
Got
was a speed
Netflix
test
and Prime Video. Yeah.
from that day. And so that was a good day for us at Skyrunner. You know, it kind of marked the beginning of, you know, like the culmination of a lot of work. It took
Yeah.
about a year and a half to get to that point of, you know, showing up every day and hanging things from poles. But this was our first installation, and as you can see, he's quite happy there. But this technology, not only is it for entertainment, but the economic benefits, I don't think we understand how to measure those yet. And in my mind, it sets the stage for us to all play our part in the digital economy of the future. And if we have access to these technologies within our homes, it can't hurt. Especially when you have access, just like you would if you lived in a very urban environment.
Almost like getting electricity like we did in the old days.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's.
Do you remember that?
No.
I wasn't there for that either, but it's a big deal. And then I also wanted to just take a moment to thank everyone at Haywood County, the Board of Commissioners that approved this in the beginning, especially David Francis and Deborah Porto. They've been instrumental in supporting Skyrunner through this process as a contact, as a champion, you know, like a sounding board for some of the process and navigating some of these waters of these processes. Their dedication and advocacy has been invaluable for us in just trying to, you know, coordinate with the state and the Department of Information Technology and understanding, you know, some of the challenges and some of the language in those agreements. And then also just a very special thank you to you, the commissioners, for approving this project in the beginning. And we're quite proud that, you know, we're at the finish line and we're signing people up. And that's kind of what we want to do, is just sign more people up and let them gain access to meaningful broadband. And I think we've got a little ceremonial fiber connecting that we wanted to do this evening with you guys, if we may.
So, you know, when folks, you have ribbon cuttings, you know, and so JJ got on me pretty quick when I talked about the word cutting. That's a very, no word to be used with fiber. So what we decided to have was we're going to have a fiber connecting ceremony. Because I think this is a great thing for our county. You know, previously, Skyrunner was also awarded an Appalachian Regional Commission grant for some work down on the Crabtree and Fines Creek area as well. And then we have another great grant out. We're not heard back yet with Skyrunner. One great grant has been approved with Charter, so we're still waiting to hear back from those, which will also connect, you know, close to 560 homes when we get all that done as well too. So things are, you know, definitely moving in the right direction, and it's really been an honor to work with JJ. You know, we couldn't have done this. You know, the application process started with Southwest Commission, with Russ Harris and Becca Scott. They helped us get the application in, and so it's just, you know, when I talked about teamwork and partnerships, that's where it really happens there. And I'd also like to, you know, thank again, you know, the Haywood County Broadband Committee, Dr. Deborah Porto, George Rowland, Bill Driver from Haywood Community College, Kim Jackson from Haywood County School System, Joey Webb from our little humble abode here, and you know, then Karen Hammett, who's recently come on as one of our community advocates as well too. So all those folks has had a big and tremendous push to get this done for our county, and I'm really proud to be associated with these guys. It's been a fun time. Thank you.
You're the guy in the background. Yeah, that's right. That's what I. We ask some questions, Dave? Can I ask JJ some questions?
Do it, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I just wanted to, JJ, so, of course, you said Little East Fork, so my ears perked up. Are you going up Little East Fork?
Yes,
What is the line that they ran already?
It's not clear to me what that is. I've been out there investigating and trying to make this decision. Something is stuck with me, from my last visit that was mentioned. It's been a goal in the back of my head ever since. And Little East Fork has stood out in my mind through this whole process. There's an address at the end that I'm striving to figure
Boy
out.
Scouts.
Yeah. And so it's not clear to me if they've solved that problem yet or not, but I drove that road just a week ago and made an observation. There's many HughesNet dishes and a lot of satellite internet on that road. And
Well, I've got HughesNet, but I don't like it, so it's like,
yeah,
you can pay a bill.
It's not
and
very
that's about it,
likable.
Yeah.
But we are actively building that right now. The decision has been made. We're going to take that on as an organization outside of this grant and build that. There may be a cost associated with it, but we're going to try to minimize it with community organization.
Okay. When are you going to do that, right away?
Yeah, we're on it right now.
Okay.
We were using a local contractor to do some of that mainline construction, and they fell ill, and so we're going to do that in-house now. So it'll be just a few weeks, maybe 2 months. You'll see us building that lateral.
Okay.
But yeah, it's underway, that decision. But the line that's there, I believe that's a point-to-point to feed like a DSL subscriber line.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah,
To the Boy Scouts.
I mean, it is fiber, but it's not.
Yeah, nobody can connect to it, that's what I heard, yeah.
It goes to the end of the road to connect their infrastructure to do DSL, I believe, but I'm not their engineer.
Which is
so
not great.
I don't know. It's not configured for multi-point access, meaning to serve homes.
Right,
So
right.
ours will be configured to serve everyone on that road.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate you doing that.
Are you up Little East Fork now, or this other group you were talking about?
Yeah, we have, we built all the way down Lake Logan Road at present, and we're right there at the base. We went past it all the way down to the lake, and we left a bunch of storage at the end of Little East Fork Road. And what the crews have been doing out there with all this money, I'm not quite sure. Like on a day-to-day basis, like up Little East Fork. But the decision has been made, the drawings are in, the pole line has been surveyed. It's just a matter of hanging the hardware now. But our intention is to go to the first 2 miles. Right now, we're going to stop right there where there's like a collection of campers.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's where my property is.
We're going to stop just beyond that right now, and then try to figure out how to close the rest of that gap soon. So.
Well, just to comment on that, to follow up on the presentation. Again, as Mr. Francis said, it's a combination of teamwork. And to all the folks that you mentioned, I know Southwest Commission, Russ Harris, his group, his staff, we were in a meeting last week, and one of the initiatives of the Southwest Commission from here to Murphy, is to facilitate broadband expansion. And so teamwork, this is a fruition of it. And I know, Dr. Porto, if you're watching, appreciate all the hard work you've done on this project. And I'll give you a little story. A couple of Saturdays ago, I guess it was a weeknight, I went over to the Tractor Supply store to get some items, and I had one of those commissioner days, where it's 7:30, you fielded a bunch of phone calls, just one of those days, and I was about peopled out. And so I saw a couple of folks in there that I knew, and here they come rushing over to me, and I thought, okay, here we go. Here's another, situation. And they were just bubbling over. It was a nice note to end the day on, because they live up at Little East Fork, and in your initial presentation, the money was probably going to run out right there at the bridge, where you go up the hill and cut off to Little East Fork. And so with leveraging funds and some more money coming in, they said that cable is right there at their driveway. So they were just so excited, and that was a good note to end the day on. So appreciate all.
That's certainly
folks
what
there.
gets my boots on the ground, is when I get to go out and do an install for someone where you've brought them this technology, and that's really what's kept me going over the last 20 years of doing this, is that interaction with the customer of bringing them something that they couldn't get otherwise, and you really change their life, and it's quite obvious when you're like in their home. And
Well, the business aspect of it, we had some interviews before the meeting, Board of Equalization interview, and one fella's here from New York. He came down here from COVID, came down here, and he has been working remotely, thanks to the internet, with the university there in New York, and that's why he's here. I have a family member that moved to a Midwestern state here a couple of weeks ago, and her employer was sad to lose her, down here in Buncombe, down in Candler, and anyway, a little back and forth, it's hard to get good folks to work for you. And the job she was doing, gave her a phone call and said, hey, if you got high-speed internet, we will keep you employed here in Candler, North Carolina, all the way in Oklahoma. And so she's going to get to do her job and continue on with what she had been doing, keep her seniority, keep her benefits, because the job she was doing it's very capable thanks to the technology, that we have. So she's working in Oklahoma for a company down here right across the county line in Candler.
And I do want to be extremely clear, although there were only 304 addresses approved for funding, and that's the only addresses that I can use that funding for, that is not all of the addresses this infrastructure can help.
Because you've got infrastructure there, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
The trunk line, line's there.
Exactly. That's the expensive part. We've at this morning when I reviewed it, we've signed up 105 of those addresses that were on that list. And then another 30 that were not. And these are pretty rural areas, as you know.
Yeah,
And they're some of my favorite parts of the county. But it takes a lot of infrastructure, like lateral miles of fiber line to serve, a lower number of addresses than a lot of providers, find attractive. But fundamentally, we just want to help people gain access to these technologies. And Little East Fork, I drove it. It was 3 weeks ago, and I came back to the office and told our project manager, I was like, go build it. Like, it makes sense. Like, I just kind of drove it and had a sense of things out there after that. And, but I said, for now, we'll stop right there, because the population gets even less dense after that little camp, at the end there. So, but maybe we can get on up through there. But there are some meadows out there. Those people can probably get Starlink for the interim, so.
I was getting ready to say, if we could twist your arm just a little bit. I get a phone call, and Tommy probably knows who I'm talking about, at least once a year from a family that's on up at the head there, and they struggle. They struggle with phone service and all, so it'd be great if, of course, all over our county. But
if I may, the best thing is for them to contact us, and if we get them in our system as a lead, that really helps our decision-making process. So, and we're sending out a letter that's kind of coming from the county to all these addresses, but we can also expand it to like all of Little East Fork and any of the lead accounts that we have, because what we need right now is demand aggregation to know where, okay, well, if we use our resources to build this other 3 miles, how many people actually want the service? And then we're kind of, we're toying with some different ideas, but these laterals, these non-grant funded laterals, we're doing our best to build this infrastructure and then balance it against not becoming the enemy of the people, because the perception is, well, you got grant money, why don't you just build it to me? It's like, well, I got it for these addresses, but not these addresses. So we're trying to figure out how to balance that as an organization, but overall, we think we've got a good path forward on that.
how do they reach you or call you directly, JJ, or who would they
They
contact?
can call Skyrunner, and they can tell them right on the phone.
Yeah, so the number to contact us is 828-258-8562. And then you can also send us an email at helpdesk@skyrunner.net. And both of those numbers are manned 24/7, or the number and the email.
That helpdesk.net?
Helpdesk, yeah. And then we'll respond to those, or connect@skyrunner.net. They go to the same place, but either one of those.
And you're welcome to come on down Lovejoy, too, if you want.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
I do have another question for you. You'd mentioned possibly doing a couple of hundred more. Is that couple of hundred extra that you're talking about, is that going to be new services, or is that going to be folks that maybe has a service that's just not reliable?
Our belief is it's people that, I can't speak to what they already have. Like, are we getting into the federal definition of what broadband is? You know, our opinion is if you don't have either fiber access or a meaningful fixed wireless, you know, like connection, then you're unserved. Like if you have DSL, although they've made the case that that is served, I would argue differently, but that's my opinion.
I agree.
Right.
And so we would consider it new service. Like we're serving people that had really no option, no meaningful option is how I like to say it.
If you run service, say up Little East Fork, do you reach out to those residents in that area to let them know that's available now, or?
Yeah,
I'm sure word of mouth gets around real quick, especially in those areas.
You know, just seeing our trucks out there, you know, some people will kind of pin the guys in and, you know, try to give them sandwiches until they come and install the service.
Here's cookies, bake cakes.
Yeah, so, but we are working on that, and that area became, in particular,
Yeah, it's,
you know, for lack of better words, it was marked as served on all of these maps, which we know is not the exact truth.
Yeah.
And so when I drove it, I was like, okay, well, this one makes sense. The density is high enough on the first mile of that road to justify it, like as far as like the number of addresses that we're able to serve. So, but yeah, that if that's not already broke ground, I know they were down on Silver's Cove on the north side of the county over the weekend, building all that.
There's a lot of houses up there.
Either. But Little East Fork is definitely greenlit, and I mean, we'll start construction there. It might actually start tomorrow. A little bit of it's just personnel and getting equipment out there. So.
well, we definitely appreciate you, and as Commissioner Long mentioned, the committee and David and Russ, for everybody that's worked on this. You know, I had a constituent reach out to me today, want to do an interview with me, and he said, what's the biggest need in Haywood County? And of course, I said affordable housing. I said, what's running a real close second is broadband. So broadband's been an issue for quite some time, and we appreciate you and David and Russ and everybody that had a part in helping these folks finally get some service. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're so excited to see this. You know, we call it lighting people up. You know, because the light we put on this is invisible. You can't see it, but it is still light, and like. I cannot describe to you how happy it makes these people when you bring this technology.
Yeah, I can tell.
I like getting light.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah.
So that is such a wonderful experience for our team, and it really keeps all of us engaged, you know, on the harder days. But thank you all.
If somebody gets hardwired, like you're saying, or they get internet, you know, proper internet, can't they use their cell phone through Wi-Fi?
Yes, yeah, you can do what's called Wi-Fi calling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so you can make phone calls, Zoom calls. You know, like once you have a meaningful broadband connection in your home, you do have to connect to Wi-Fi, and there's a couple of hoops to jump through, but it works very well.
Well, I'll just tell you this to maybe get you on up Little East Fork. So there's a family up there that had AT&T, and they decided for some reason they didn't get it anymore or anything. Well, you have no cell coverage up there. That area is no cell coverage. Fines Creek's the same way. So if they could get internet up there, they would have cell phone coverage, and that's the only thing they can use.
Or if you put in enough Wi-Fi outside the home, but yes, you would have.
Right. You can have it at your home, in your home.
Yeah.
To where
like
somebody.
driving down the road, not.
Right, no, yeah. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You can actually, because with the HughesNet, it's just, you can text, but you can't really call.
Yeah, this is not that.
Right.
You know, if we have the opportunity to serve, you know, any of you guys, I think you're going to be really impressed with this technology. I mean, it is, you cannot, I mean, it is the same service. It's available in like urban Atlanta.
Right.
It's the same technology. I wish I could get it at my house in Alexander. So.
I've got a question probably maybe for the Broadband Committee. Commissioner Best and I were in a meeting in Cabarrus County back in the summer, and the state, his name escapes me right now. He was over the communications at the state level. He was talking about breaking down some barriers. I cannot remember the first round of that grant money where these companies like Charter staked out a claim, and they had like 6 years to spend that money.
That's the RDOF grant.
The RDOF
Yes.
grant. Well, the state fellow was saying that they were trying to break down some barriers to circumvent that 6 year. They were working on it. I see Russ shaking his head no, so they hadn't made much progress on that. Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great, because some of these folks sat on those territories for 6 years. I think they've got to build that out.
Yeah.
But the state folks were working on with the federal level to try to speed that process
So,
up.
we had Charter come, soon thereafter, the RDOF grant was awarded. And, because, we were a little suspect as well because of all the territory they got across the United States, not just here in Haywood, but, across the United States, big project. And we recently had a conversation with them as well. And, Haywood County is still in line. They actually had some survey crews out looking at, what it would take to get some of the, fibers, into those areas. So we know that they're still working. We had a meeting scheduled with them, and unfortunately it got postponed last week. But so I know that they're still working on, some of those RDOF in our case in Haywood. I know Charter's also turned in some of the areas throughout the United States. I don't know how much, and I don't know if they've turned in some in North Carolina. I don't know that fact, but I know they are still working here, and so that's a good sign there. And one of the folks that JJ and I, and Andrew, we were talking earlier that we needed to give a special thanks as well too was Haywood Electrical Membership Corporation. Because Skyrunner, stretching the fiber, through the poles and through their system as well too. So they needed a special acknowledgement as well too. And then that's a conversation that we had many years ago that lasted about 3 or 4 hours, I think, that afternoon, to getting some things worked out. And so, but they need a special thank you as well too.
I know Fines Creek and Karen Hammond, I know she's a big advocate for that down there, so I know they're happy. And folks at Lake Logan, thank you again.
Karen Spunky.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say one thing too. We get hung up on $75,000 grants, and we get hung up on these public information requests that don't mean nothing. But yet we're talking about something that, as a commissioner, is what excites me, is a $1.2 million grant that's helping, 500 citizens and even more in the future. And that's why I want to be a commissioner, and to get $1 million grant for affordable housing. These are the two toughest issues in the county, and that's what that's what this board's going to be focused on, is making sure we can get affordable housing and broadband coverage to the county, because that's what makes meaningful differences to where our young people can get access to the internet, and that our people can stay here and build and live here and everything. So I appreciate, David, your work on this, and Dr. Porto and the committee, and JJ, you're a breath of fresh air as far as I'm concerned in Haywood County. You're not Zito, that's for sure. So we won't go there. But yeah, you guys have come along and you've made solutions. And when people call me, I say, have you checked with Skyrunner? Because, I had DSL, and I lived where I could see Chambers Mountain. And I got Skyrunner because that was my only other choice. And it's great. It's wireless. It's, line of sight. So y'all came in to do that, and now you're doing the hardware. So the hardwired. So anyway, as a commissioner, this is what excites me, and this is how I feel like we're making a difference in the county by recognizing these grants and having our organizations like Southwest Commission and our broadband committee with our citizens and David helping people, really make their lives better, because it is better when you've got, good high-speed internet. My mom lives in a section of the county on Little East Fork, and I don't know if that Life Alert works or not, because there's no cell phone coverage or anything up there. We really don't know, because we've not had to use it yet. So, but I know if we had Wi-Fi, proper Wi-Fi, that she could get that. So that's where it makes a difference in people's lives, and that's what our board's committed to doing.
She makes a great cake too, by the way.
Yeah, she does.
So
She'll make you some lemon bread. Some lemon bread, JJ. Just let me know when you're going to be up there, and I'll make sure she has a loaf for you.
I helped her on her vehicle one time, and she brought me one of them cakes, and it's pretty doggone good.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. And they can cook up there too. Yeah, there you go. That's right. Okay. Oh, I just got to add this. You know, in the old days, whenever you worked out in the country, the people made your lunch for you. You remember that? I mean, it's like, what's for dinner? And you know, so, and as a surveyor, they used to do that, you know, and my survey crews, we don't ever get that anymore. We got to make sure we stop at Subway or something. Anyway, yeah, that's right. But you're in the country, they'll fix your lunch, JJ. Thank you, JJ. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get sidelined. I'm just excited about that, so. Okay. So, anybody got any adjustment or discussion or adjustment to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. You didn't have any of the, Amy? Okay. Okay. All right. We'll move on to consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? Any questions at all?
On the approval of the last meeting minutes, is that correct? The $75,000 grant carried 5-0?
Yes.
That's what the minute says. We're going to
All
approve.
5 of us voted for it.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Tax collection going all right, Sebastian? Okay.
I will make a comment. It's been customary. We have in the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 deputies that serve the county well. Mark Meese, 21 years, and James Eugene Williamson. He did the courthouse duty probably for the first 4 years I was here. I didn't know it, but he could sing too. He sang the national anthem one night at the fallen officers ceremony. That was refreshing. But I do want to give a shout out. I know they're on the consent agenda, but I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Mark Meese and Mr. Williamson for their service to Haywood County, and I appreciate their service to our county.
Okay, thank you, Tommy.
I'd like to echo that. You know, Mark's been a good friend of mine for many years, him and his entire family, and of course James as well. I got to know him later on, and both of them served the county well, so appreciate their service.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Or okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, so we'll move to our regular agenda. And number 1 is to request approval via resolution of annex line agreement between the towns of Maggie Valley and Waynesville. And we have our Maggie Valley Town Planner, Caitlin Finkel, and the Assistant Town Planner, Sam Cullen. Welcome, guys. I thought that was you back there, Caitlin.
Yeah, it's been a couple months since I've been here, and I'm going to turn it over to Sam for the presentation today. You've got some maps in front of you, but I did just want to say thank you for voting to approve the Haywood County Greenway Master Plan at your last meeting on February 6th. That's the last time I was in front of you, so I appreciate you all approving that at the last meeting. Sam is the new Assistant Town Planner with Maggie Valley, and I'm going to turn it over to him.
Hey, Sam.
So for about the last 20 years, the town of Waynesville and the town of Maggie Valley have been or had a standing annexation line agreement. The 2 boundaries on your map in front of you are the bubbles that the towns can annex by right, those properties, if requested. The line helps give certainty to citizens on each side to know who might annex them in the future if they request, who to look into at cost of services, and such as that. But we're here tonight because the statutory regulations, after we have our hearings in Waynesville and Maggie, bring it to the commissioners. So we both did on January 10th, and Waynesville passed, and Maggie Valley passed it unanimously. I'll try to answer any questions for you if I can. These things come up very rarely, so.
Well, that was the only question I was going to have. So Maggie and Waynesville, they have their duly elected governing boards, their aldermen and their mayors, and they were all in agreement with this red line here.
Yes,
so.
yes.
And what does the red line represent?
So Maggie Valley cannot annex past one side?
I mean, yeah, but where is it on the ground? Is it a ridge or is it a?
It runs along certain parcels.
Okay.
If you want to start at Lynn Lowry, and it comes down that ridge, crosses about on the other side of Jonathan Creek, on the Waynesville side of Jonathan Creek, and I believe it's less than a mile from Jonathan Creek Road up to that line along that ridge.
Okay.
I don't know the exact location.
That's okay, then it goes all the way to 209, looks like, so.
Yeah, it runs
Okay.
right past I-40.
Okay. So our GIS can identify this on a map, and then because, you know, that way we will know when we look at that certain parcel, we can click on that
Yep.
layer and know where it is.
And we
Okay.
do have some very detailed coordinates that are lengthy, but
Okay, yeah.
we will
Okay.
submit those.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Seems straightforward. Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion, we approve item 1 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's unanimous.
Thank you for your
y'all
time.
for coming out
Thank
and
you.
waiting for us. Okay. Okay, item number 2 is to request approval of a budget amendment for public safety, $230,000 to appropriate fund balance to cover juvenile detention fees and inmate safekeeping for the remainder of the fiscal year. And we have our Chief Deputy, Matthew Trantham. I don't think I've said that before, Matthew.
You have not.
Got a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
I don't know.
That's the first time he's come before us, and he's asking for quite a bit of money.
I know.
I am.
We need to all frown at him.
So I don't really know how much you need me to explain into this, but the safekeeping fund is for where we're sending folks to be held out of our jail for medical issues that can't be helped in the jail. So we have, there's not a way to predict how much we're going to
Right.
spend in that.
Correct.
So, and then the other part is for the juvenile housing. We can't control that either after the state
You just
changed
don't know
the
who.
age.
Okay. So y'all are projecting $230,000 by the end of the year, and then if you have some extra, hopefully that'll get us through.
Yes, sir, we
Okay.
hope so.
And that's coming out of fund balance, right? Right, or Christian?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Matthew? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, we approve item 2 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you, Matthew. Item 3 is to request approval of a budget amendment for EMS, $27,185, to appropriate fund balance for the items budgeted in fiscal year 2022 to complete vehicle upfit for a F-150 EMS, for F-150, I guess that's a truck, right? EMS Director Travis Donaldson. Sorry, Travis.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, as Chairman Inslee said, this is for the F-150 that the supervisor, EMS supervisor, drives on a daily basis. The funds for the pickup as well as the funds to upfit it were in previous budget years, so these funds are being rolled forward to hopefully finally complete this project. The pickup truck was delivered the end of this past calendar year. Hopefully I can get this thing on the road in the next 6 months by the time we wait on the equipment that we've ordered.
Wow. Any questions for Travis?
What all's left, Travis, to upfit that vehicle? Everything, or?
Yeah, that's,
Pretty much.
we ended up going with a pickup truck this year because of the availability of an SUV. Couldn't get it, that's what we normally use. So we got to put camper topper on it, the lights and the radios and the stuff that makes us able to permit it with the state to be able to run it as a quick response vehicle with North Carolina EMS standards.
Be similar to the other trucks that we have.
Yeah, it's no different, just bringing it up to par and to meet standards with the state.
We have a motion for item 3 then?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. Travis, how's your training going? So y'all started what does that go through Thursday?
It goes through Thursday about midday. I think we had about 100 register for class between the state staff, our staff, and those helping put it on. There's probably 130, 140 people out there each day. working through the scenario that those teams are being assigned. The general breakdown of it is the participants that are participating in the exercise. There's three teams of 20 folks that are working through the exercise in a scenario that's actually a local-based scenario we're working with local partners, businesses, the hospital, and a number of folks on to make it as real world as we possibly could.
And so do you guys sponsor that?
The county actually sponsored it through a grant is a pass-through grant from the state. So those are the funds being used there. But
great.
It's good to have it in Western North Carolina. It's good to have it in Haywood County. The state usually offers 2 a year. One ends up on the coast, and in the past, one usually didn't make it past Charlotte. And this is now the third time that we've got to host it, and there was a little pause there for COVID, and hopefully we can keep them coming back because we have good attendance.
Right. Well, I really appreciate, especially having it at Lake Junaluska. I know it helps them during this time of year when they're slow.
Yep.
And so this definitely gives them an influx of folks during the week that they wouldn't normally have.
Yeah.
So
the lake's a great partner
it
to work
is.
with out there.
That's a great venue. Great venue. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Thanks for that update. Okay, we'll move on to appointments. Do I need to turn this over to Frank? Okay, Frank, you want to?
Mr. Chairman.
Or Brian, or Frank and Brian.
Yes. My assistant is handing out the ballots for the Board of Equalization and Review. Before the meeting today, you all held interviews with the applicants for this position. The Board of Equalization and Review is a internal body that hears appeals from the determination of the valuation of real and personal property here in the county. The board meets for a period on an irregular basis, their own schedule. They meet on an irregular basis, hearing those appeals when people have a dispute about the valuation that's been given to their property. The Board of Equalization and Review is appointed by the commissioners and meets again on a fairly frequent basis until sometime in April usually, and then they're done. They stay technically, I think, in office to hear potential appeals and stuff after that. We've been given a ballot for the voting for 5 regular seats on that board, and then a separate ballot for an alternate for that position. You've had, I think, 10 applicants that you actually interviewed this afternoon.
We had 10 very qualified applicants, and that's why it's taken some of our commissioners a while to vote.
Well,
Well, I will say we had a great group of applicants. We usually don't have that luxury. We had 5 seats and had 10 applicants, and really appreciate all the public interest. And they were great applicants. I wish we could put them all on, but, you know.
Judy wouldn't like that.
No.
Impression to see that we had the 10 applicants too.
5 instead of 6.
10 good applicants, so all the boards that's available, it'd be nice if we had people apply for all those as well.
I thought that was going to be me.
No, it was me.
Some of the commissioners are better than others at counting up to 5, how many they can vote for. Apparently, they're used to a different kind of a balloting system.
We just taught to count to 3, Frank.
He was on vacation last week, Frank. You got to give her a break.
I got the point.
Trying to get back in the swing of things here.
I marked yes for everybody, so just go on record.
I told you it's a tough vote. Judy, while they're doing that, do we need to decide on the pay also? All right.
Brian, is Frank running out of fingers and toes over there?
Socks are about to come off.
We have a tie for the alternates, and I'm going to double check my work here. All right, that solved that. One of the alternates, one of the tie votes for alternates actually was elected for the regular seat, okay? And so taking those votes out solved the tie vote. So I have a you've elected Evelyn Cooper, Jonathan Sears, Jimmy Flynn, Margaret Ruff, and Ted Carr as the 5 regular members of the Board of Equalization and Review. You have appointed as the alternate Skipper Russell. And we have collected and maintained the record of the ballots themselves as a public record. We just haven't announced who voted for what in this meeting, but we keep these records like we all do for any balloting is kept with the records of the meeting.
Okay, so, oh, yes, I knew that.
So do you need me to read them again?
Okay, no, that's fine.
You got it?
Yeah, so, who would like to be the board chair? What would?
I'd like to make a motion that Jimmy Flynn be the board chair. And
I would second that.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jimmy. And then a nomination for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Evelyn Cooper.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Is that okay, Amy, the way we did it? It wasn't exactly the way you had it, but, okay, good. Okay, so now, next, we're going to go into closed session, and we'll be in closed session when we enter the chambers in the back there, but for now, I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3, attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll be in closed session when we enter the chambers in the back. Okay, we've returned from closed session. Does anyone else have anything to bring before the board? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain the motion we adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that's unanimous.